Tiny offers are what really accelerated my business from nothing. There hasn't been a day since 2018 that I haven't made sales for my tiny offers.
What's the real difference between online courses and a tiny offer?
A lot of tiny offers are people are going to care a lot more about people, and they're going to care more about the brands behind what's being shared and, connecting and building relationships. If you don't have that in the future, it's going to be a lot harder to grow your business. Whatever niche you're in, where does your audience default to for information? Like, do they go to books? Do they, want to hire a coach for it? Like, what kind of support are they naturally going to look for? And then think of that. How do you turn that into your tiny offer?
Are you ready to finally create and launch an online course that is successful? Do you feel overwhelmed though with all the creation and the tools, and where do you host it and how do you organize it? And maybe are you feeling stuck because you started an online course, but it's been abandoned on your computer, or you created one and you're having trouble selling it? In this episode of the Think Media podcast, we're going to be talking to an expert that's really going to be breaking down a masterclass of the best way to really create an online course in less than a day. My guest today is Allie Bjerk, who's an award-winning digital marketer, and she's an expert in what's called tiny offers, how to create powerful online courses and online products that you can create quickly, sell for a low dollar amount, and get launched so you can start changing lives and generating income in your existing business, as an entrepreneur, or as a content creator that's looking to package what you know and profit from it. And so stick around. And Allie, welcome back to the Think Media podcast.
Hey, Sean, thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited to be back.
So I am excited to talk about, how do we promote and sell the course? What are some of the AI opportunities? What are tools? Where could we host some of these things, and even go through maybe some case studies of some tiny offer ideas for some specific niches of common topics that our Think Media podcast listeners cover. But for those that are just meeting you, how did you get into your expertise, and what have you been up to lately over the last couple of years in your business?
Yeah, so I've been teaching tiny offers since 2018. I've seen a lot of things change with ads, a lot of different business models come and go, and lots of different things that people are selling. But tiny offers have been consistent. They've stayed relevant. I believe every single business who wants to exist online needs a tiny offer. And I'm really excited to dig into some of the case studies today and talk about what's working and what's not working. And I have been doing a lot with AI and learning how to create an entire tiny offer in a day. So we could totally break that down for people. So by the end of this episode, they could know exactly how to create a tiny offer and where to start.
I'm so excited. And I'm also curious, like, for those that are just meeting you, where are you based out, and what are kind of like your family, and why do you love tiny offers in regards to your values and your vision?
Yeah, I'm in Minnesota. I'm a mom of three. I have a 12-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 7-year-old. And I started tiny offers when they were much, much smaller, because I was working as a service provider behind the computer all the time. I was running ads for people. I was building funnels for people. I was even managing social media and writing blogs. Like, all of my money was coming from me being at the computer, getting paid hourly or getting paid on a retainer. So instead of having one boss, I had a bunch of bosses. And after I had, my second child and then my third child, it became unmanageable to run a business like that. And I wanted to create products that were not reliant on how much time I had available. I wanted more passive income because I really love to travel and hang out with my kids. And I'm a really intentional mom and I want to be present with them. So this was really important for me to build a business that wasn't reliant on the hustle or only being on video all the time trying to sell what my stuff was. I wanted more systems behind the scenes that would help sell for me. So that really inspired it. I
know your vision aligns with me as a father of two boys now, and so many in our community that are looking for that leverage, but also want to make an impact, create extra streams of revenue. And so how long could this take? And actually, before we answer that question, break down the difference. I know people want to get into the e-learning industry. Recent stats were that this industry is going to be like well over $1 trillion by 2031 or something. It keeps growing. Online courses, e-learning, people getting information online, packaging what they know. And so it's just massive, and it's only going to continue to grow. But people can sometimes get stuck. They think, I'm going to make an online course. I need to make like Encyclopedia Britannica. Like, I need to make 500 hours of content. I need to make an academy. What's the real difference between maybe the traditional thinking of online courses and a tiny offer.
Yeah. I mean, I've totally been there. My first course was about search engine optimization. I think I spent 6 months building it and not a single sale. It's like, it was ridiculous. And I knew I couldn't do that again. I didn't even have time to think about doing that. So a lot of tiny offers are template based. They could be like reselling something you've created in Canva. They could be blueprints that you've created that align with what you're teaching. There's all sorts of different things that make tiny offers very plug and play. It's not necessarily an entire course. It could be different assets that you've created. It could be a masterclass that you want to teach. I mean, it could even be a workshop that you want to create and teach live. But it's what makes it tiny is that you sell it for something less than $50. $27 is usually where I end up selling. So it's a really easy decision for people to sign up for the product. There's not a big disconnect on price point when they're looking at it.
And can you think of an example maybe that you've made or one of your students in regards to how long it could take to create one of these?
I did it in one single Saturday a couple weeks ago. I had an idea and I sat down at ChatGPT, and I have a reel about this on my Instagram if anybody wants to go watch it, because I put down the entire system, like what I prompted and how I got it figured out. But I went on ChatGPT and I said, what are some problems that I could solve for this niche? And I put in the niche that I wanted to create a product for, and it gave me like probably 10 or 15 different ideas of products that I could create. And then I said, okay, what kind of lessons would I include in a mini course about this topic? And then it listed out all of the different lessons that I could include. I even got to the point with the tiny offer that I wanted to create where it was helping me outline the slides. And then I copied and pasted what it was telling me into Canva. I had a Canva template open, and then I just turned on my camera and I recorded the slides that I'd created with the help of ChatGPT, and it was up in my learning management system by the end of the day.
Wow. And so from concept to completion in one day. And of course, if you're brand new to this stuff, you got to learn some of those things. And actually, just so people know, you've got a brand new, really cool resource at tinyofferlaunch.com. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. It's the Tiny Offer Launchpad. And of course, that'll be in the show notes. But I just actually did what you were saying because tiny offers changed our life as well. I love your influence in our life. We packaged what many of our students have probably picked up. It's called our YouTube starter kit. But I just took your idea. I went to ChatGPT and I said, what problems could I solve for people starting YouTube for a short digital course? And it talked about content strategy and planning, video production skills, channel branding and design, audience engagement and growth, YouTube analytics and SEO. There's 12 ideas right there. So that was just a golden nugget. And I love that you started with problem. Break down problem, solution, and just maybe some marketing fundamentals for those that have maybe just tried to pick a course idea or a tiny offer idea out of the air, out of their own mind, but then found that it fell flat. Why is it important of maybe tapping into a problem?
Yeah, it gets people's attention in a much different way. And I think when you are a creator and you're an expert in something, you know so much more than your audience does. And sometimes we get disconnected from where they're starting and what's keeping them awake at night. So when we can tap into what problems they feel like they're experiencing, they're going to pay attention to that product so much more because they're out there looking for solutions instead of us just trying to guess what's something they might buy. If you know your audience and you're reading your comments and you're seeing what people are saying, you can figure it out pretty quickly what might be their current struggles.
I love that. And I was looking at your Instagram stories. And so what are some tiny offer ideas that maybe we could create? I'll throw some niches at you.
Yeah,
if you were a cooking channel on YouTube, what's an idea?
Even a recipe book. I mean, you could sell it for $7, $17. You can do like tiny offers. It doesn't have to be 27, but you could do a resource guide. It could be recipes. It could be all sorts of different things on your techniques. I know someone that has an entire tiny offer business based on how to bake sugar cookies. And they've built this multi-million-dollar brand about sugar cookies. So there's so many things that they could monetize.
How about real estate or a service provider?
Depends on if it's B2B or B2C. So if it's a real estate agent who wants to find more clients, they could do different things about the area. It could be a shopping guide or a local guide to restaurants, or if somebody's moving into the area to help them understand, different neighborhoods or something like that too. Or if you're a real estate agent who is teaching other real estate agents, if you're in a coaching space, then it could be something about visibility or helping people with social media marketing, kind of stepping into that expert level too. I see a lot of people do that.
You dropped a really good nugget there talking about the difference between B2B and B2C. The next topic I have for you is graphic design. So maybe B2C, business to consumer, is going to be a graphic designer and the end user just wants to be better at graphic design. B2B would be somebody else that maybe wants to sell their freelance graphic design services. So what are some ideas for 2 examples under graphic design?
Yeah. So if it's graphic design, templates are always really easy to sell. That's like one of the biggest things that I sell is different social media templates, for me, it's sales page templates and funnel templates. Depends on what type of designer you are, but when you're a designer, you can almost prep the client to become a really great client for you. If you're creating an onboarding case for them or helping them write the words for their website, if they're trying to write a website, you just figure out what your clients usually come to you and say like, oh, I'm really struggling with this thing. Can you help me? You can figure out one of the problems that they have. Maybe they're saying, I want a new website, but I don't know what to say on the website. As a designer, that's not really your job, but you could still complement the services that you do have by selling them some type of template.
How about AI itself? You're a YouTube channel. It's a huge trend right now. Obviously, it's impacting the world and different industries, but there's a lot of channels starting covering AI tools, covering some different things.
Yeah, I've seen a lot about selling prompts. Like, how do you prompt ChatGPT to get it to actually do what you want it to do or help you create what you want to create? Or just, it could be different systems around using AI and organizing all of the prompts that you have. I see a lot of standard operating procedures being sold, step-by-step checklists on how to do things that can work really well.
Okay, how about parenting?
Let's see. Parenting mini courses. One thing I've found with not like a business or more B2C is that if you sell a tiny offer that's a workshop and it's a new way of thinking about something, that's different than selling templates. Because parents, what are they going to buy templates about? Maybe something they could hang on their fridge to remind them what to say to encourage their kid. That's one thing. But if you sell a masterclass or a workshop, that's going to sell a lot faster to parents because they want to learn something new. We as humans love novelty. We love experiencing things and getting off the hook for things that haven't worked before if we have a new way of doing things. So I think if you can create a workshop about your framework, or if you feel like you don't have a framework, if you think about how you work with clients and look at the different steps that you take them through to help them have an aha moment or help them get a result, you probably have a framework that you don't even realize. So if you can name the framework, put it into a workshop, that can be a great tiny offer in a non-typical business template niche.
I love that. It kind of gets me inspired. It makes me think of one of my favorite books right now is called The Intentional Father by John Tyson.
Sounds
and
really good.
It talks about the incompetent father, basically just was kind of a sperm donor and disappeared. It talks about just the inconsistent father, sometimes there, sometimes not there. And then it talks about these different levels all the way up to being an intentional father. And it was like a paradigm shifting mindset. And even just learning those 5 levels, what a workshop, such a good workshop. And tapping, it gets me so inspired as wanting to be a good father for my son. So before the next one, I'm just curious, describe this workshop idea. It would be like a paid online event that people that register could attend. And instead of doing like a free webinar, free workshop, it's like a paid workshop. How long are they? I mean, a couple of details of what that looks like.
Yeah, usually about 90 minutes is what I recommend for workshops. And you can make it feel like it shouldn't be a free webinar by adding different supplemental things. Like it could be a copy of your book in audio form, or even if you have a physical form of your book that they could get, it could be maybe you get journaling prompts to reflect on as you're going through the workshop, different workbooks. You can add on different assets that you have. So it's kind of like a bundle of products along with the workshop. That's where the offer part of it, it's like a whole offer that you're putting together. It's not just a single workshop or a single product. They get a bunch of different things where it's a very immersive experience, and it helps build really strong brand loyalty and trust too when you do it that way.
I love that. Okay, last one is if you had a faith-based channel or like a Bible study channel, what is a couple thoughts?
I have a client in this niche, and he created a devotional that he's selling. He's actually selling it on Amazon too, which I think is really cool. But he's got a devotional, and then he added on a challenge that he runs live when people sign up for his devotional, and then he's coaching them, and he's come up with a lot of really cool bonuses that go along with it. But what I like to try to think of is whatever niche you're in, where does your audience default to for information? Like if they want to learn something and they want to uncover a new idea or solve a problem, do they go to books? Do they, want to hire a coach for it? Like, do they want a trainer? What kind of support are they naturally going to look for? And then think of that. How do you turn that into your tiny offer? Because even when you buy a book, oftentimes now it'll have a page of resources that you can go download, but you paid for the book and then you get the free resources. This kind of combines it all right in the front where you get the information and the resources all when you sign up.
What are some of the mistakes with tiny offers or just as you've coached people where people try to package, get it off the ground? Just a few things of why it doesn't work or why it doesn't resonate or why it doesn't sell.
Yeah, messaging is one of the biggest reasons why I've seen them not work. If you don't know what your audience wants, that's a huge, like me trying to design an SEO course, nobody wanted to buy a whole course about SEO. So at that time anyway, when I created it, I didn't know my audience. I didn't know what their pain points were. I was just stabbing in the dark and guessing at what people might buy. So figuring out what your audience is saying, and there's a lot of different ways to research. I love reading the comments on videos and on reels. And I find people that have businesses like mine, and I just study the comments constantly. And I'm seeing how people think and what they're saying and what beliefs they have about things. But you can do that on Amazon. You can look at books that other authors have written and see it's funny if you reverse the comments and the reviews and you look at the 1-star reviews first and see what they hated about the book. That can be really interesting to find a different angle. Or if you think about other thought leaders and you watch their stuff and you're like, I don't agree with that. Like I would say that a totally different way or teach it a totally different way, then go do that. Because there's opportunities for you to build your brand on that message instead. So I think that messaging is one of the biggest things. The other mistake that I see a lot of people doing, especially with tiny offers, is they end up building this massive course that they never launch. They go all in to create a tiny offer, but then they get really worried that it's not going to be good enough, or they get imposter syndrome and they keep adding on. And by the end of it, people almost don't believe that it's possible to buy a course with all of this stuff in it for $27. So there's some disconnect that there's too much value in it, and then people don't buy it because they don't believe it'll be high quality. So you can almost do a disservice to yourself and the future brand that you're creating if you put too much into a tiny offer. We want it to be really specific and just solving one single pain point at a time.
Okay, so we get the tiny offer created, and we'll circle back to that in a second. But getting kind of tactical, where do we host it, and what are maybe some of the opportunities? And you could list out a couple. But when we hear about services like Udemy, it seems like there's a lot of tiny offers on like a website like Udemy. What are the pros and cons of a website like that, and what are the alternatives?
Yeah, there's so many different ways that you can do it. As long as you have a cart where you can take payment, that's really the first thing. If you have a way to deliver an email that gives them a link to the product, that would be the next thing. And then somewhere to host your videos. When I first started, I was sending unlisted YouTube links as part of my tiny offer. I didn't even have a video hosting company at that time. I wasn't using like a Vimeo or a Wistia. And also a place to house the information. So the free option is unlisted videos on YouTube, Google Drive links. You can easily share some of that with people in email really easily, all the way up to building your own custom learning management system. So LMS on something like WordPress. I'm currently using a company called High Level to host all of my sales pages, and all of my products all live in there. But there's so many options that I think part of what people should consider is going with a platform that isn't going to take a cut of every single sale that you make. I've seen a lot of people do that. These are such small products that if you are, say, at some point you're running ads to them, that's going to take a little bit of the amount of money that you're making from the offer. And then if you're hosting it somewhere that takes a cut of the offer, it can just, take everything away. So you're not making any money. So you just want to be aware of where you're selling it, where you're hosting your products, so that you keep ownership of what you've created.
Would you like a free copy of the #1 best-selling book for growing a successful YouTube channel? If you want to get a copy of the new and expanded second edition of YouTube Secrets, just go to ytsecrets.com. And if you'll cover shipping and handling, I would love to send you this book for free. And the cool thing is, when you place your order, you're also going to get access to some bonus resources like our 1,000 subscribers club, our 7 C's framework, our perfect video recipe framework, as well as some bonus videos that will help you get results on YouTube faster. So to get your copy, just go to ytsecrets.com or click the link in the podcast show notes.
I want to know about how you're using AI. Right now, it's kind of changed the game and maybe kind of an overview of some of those opportunities.
Yeah. So when my very first tiny offer was 365 live stream ideas, I was working with coaches and experts, and a lot of them wanted to be doing live streams to market their brand, but they're like, oh, I don't know what I would say. So I created this product that was 365 different ideas. So one every single day. And it took me 4 days to create this product. And I was just sitting with my laptop and I was like scouring the internet, trying to find different ideas. And then I'd find one and I'd put it on my list and then go look around and I'd find a different idea and I'd tweak it and I'd add it to the list. I can do that in less than 5 minutes with ChatGPT now. So I would say come up with 365 live stream ideas and it would give me the entire list immediately. So even the creation of the info that goes into the products is so much faster with AI. So that's one thing that I've been playing around with a lot, is just coming up with a lot of content and a lot of different pieces that will save people time inside of their tiny offers. Because I've gotten to the point where with helping people create tiny offers, I want to give them the assets to be able to use in their tiny offers, like the ebooks. And I want to have as much created for people so they can just go and start selling them. So that's one thing that I've been doing a lot, is having ChatGPT help me write an ebook for someone as if I'm an expert in the topic. And then I can, put that in my library of ebooks that I give to my clients, and they can use it inside of their tiny offers that they're launching.
That's wild. I'm curious, when people think about AI, there's a lot of drama around it. Mm-hmm. I mean, people also think the robots will come for us and this whole other conversation.
Yeah.
But how do you just feel about the trajectory of AI and the tension between this? Sometimes people saying, oh, there's ebooks on Amazon or like the lower quality. How do you use the AI correctly?
Yeah.
And maybe not just pump it out and think it's the cure all, but use it appropriately?
Yeah, that's such a good question. I had a reel that went, for me, viral. I think it ended up at about 775,000 views and hundreds of comments saying like, oh, you don't know, you shouldn't be creating this, or you shouldn't be sharing this. This is unethical, like way to bring down the entire industry because you're talking about AI. And like, there was so much hate on this reel about AI in general. And one thing that I realize is there's going to be different beliefs about it. There's going to be different people on both ends of the spectrum. And if I can create more value for people and I can do it faster and I can have more time with my family, then I'm going to go along with that opportunity. But I think some of the things that people are afraid of is that it's going to take away from the quality of the information that we're sharing. And that's one reason why, everything that I create with AI, I always have a human going through and humanizing it, because it doesn't sound the same. It doesn't connect the same way. It doesn't have emotion behind it. So having a writer on my team who can rework it and make sure that it's really high quality. But I see the future of the whole info product niche being, people are going to care a lot more about people, and they're going to care more about the brands behind what's being shared, and, connecting and building relationships and making sure that your face is on video so they can see who you are and they know that you're someone who's relatable and someone that they like, building that personal brand behind what you're creating. With AI, I think if you don't have that in the future, it's going to be a lot harder to grow your business.
So it's such a valuable perspective. And I do want to talk about how do we promote and sell and just the different list of opportunities in kind of this next section. But I also want to hear about this brand new offer you've created, the Tiny Offer Launchpad. Back in the day, in fact, we've loved, and so many of our community got your toolkit, and that was amazing. But you've taken it to another level. What is this new offer that you've created? Tell us a little bit about it, the details.
Yeah, so it's 101 different ideas for different niches, and it gets very specific and does a really great job of modeling how there can be a niche within a niche. So maybe you're a health coach, but you help people with holistic health, or maybe it's vegan health, and it just helps people figure out what kind of tiny offer could they create. And then it goes a step further, and it's going to map out all of the offers for you and show you if this is what you want to teach. It could be a workshop, or it could be a mini course, or it could be an ebook. If that's what your main piece of the tiny offer is, here's what you could offer as a bonus. Here's another topic that you could offer as a bonus. So it builds the entire offer for people. And there's an AI tool that is part of the launchpad too, that I had custom built, kind of like a mini app where you can put in your topic or you can put in your niche, and it will give you your entire offer idea, from if you wanted to build an entire funnel with it and have, a fancy cart that has an order bump on it and has a one-time offer, some of those funnels that you've seen that have multiple steps on them. It'll show you exactly how to create that, and what you could sell as those next steps too inside of your tiny offer.
That's so cool. So you've got AI software included in this.
Yeah.
And if people want to check it out, tinyofferlaunch.com, and we'll have everything in the show notes as well.
Yeah.
I love tiny offers. As I mentioned earlier, one of the things we created was our YouTube starter kit, and inspired by what you're doing, thinking about templates and digital downloads and those types of things. But there are new ones we want to create this year, and we continue to learn from you. And I think there's two categories. And before we get to the promotion, I want to talk about the second category. I really wanted to have you back on because I think the tiny offer itself is such a great way to get started, and even like a good final destination. Of course, we keep growing, but like it could be our quote is, I think we heard it from Brendon Burchard originally, but your income is directly correlated to the amount of buy buttons you have on your website.
That's good.
And our listeners sometimes might go, well, shoot, not only do I not have any buy buttons, I don't even have a website. So like, obviously, and sometimes we become so short-sighted as content creators. All we want to do is get monetized and get ad revenue, but it is so difficult. You need just so many views to make that legitimate. But if you had a $27 tiny offer, and if your YouTube channel set up as you teach us to do, lead to a sale a day, you're close to $1,000 a month if you just were organically getting one sale a day of $27. It's like $800 a month that would be coming in. It would take so long for new creators, upstart creators. And the fact that you can create it quickly, you start promoting it quickly, you start generating cash quickly. But then the other side of it is this idea, and speak to this, is that a lot of people on here, they might have already a more sophisticated business. They've got a higher ticket coaching program or mastermind, or they're a business owner with a higher ticket service. And so there's all the stats that the cost of acquiring a customer, the energy it takes to get a customer, not a subscriber, not a follower, not someone casually in your audience, not somebody who every once in a while watches a video, not someone who watches 2 videos and you make 4 cents in ad revenue, but literally somebody that raises their hand to say, I want to do business with you. Like I'm willing to actually not just be a tire kicker, but actually become a buyer. Then it's the first step into what could be a lot of other things. And so it could be a great final destination. How many if you sold thousands of units over a year at $27, it could be very significant. Yeah. But it's also a good way to get started because it could lead to some other things. How do you think about it for the person that really wants to build out that kind of coach, author, speaker, info, product business?
Yeah. Tiny offers are really what lit the gasoline on my fire. Tiny offers are what really accelerated my business from nothing. I mean, when I started, I had no email list, I had no social media presence, but I knew ads, and I was able to start. I think I spent maybe $20 a day my very first day because I was terrified of running my own ads, and I made 2x back. So I spent $20, made $40. The next day I spent $40, made $80. And I just, because of the way I had built out a tiny offer suite, which I'll explain in a second, I was able to make my money back plus double based on the other products that people were buying once they came into the entire tiny offer suite. So for somebody that really wants to scale, The tiny offer itself, the $27 product, is a great way to get people's attention, especially if you're running ads. I mean, you can show up all over the place. You can follow people around the internet. They'll never forget your face once you have tiny offers up and running. And then you can add on an order bump that's $37, and about 15% of people will buy that. And then you can add on an upsell. That's another course that you have that's $77 or $97, and another 15% of people will buy that. So when you think about it, you're making an average of about $100 per person instead of just a $27 buyer. And then it's a totally different game. Plus, those people are joining your email list. You are able to keep in touch with them. You can keep them updated with any launches that you have going on. If you have a high ticket group coaching program, or if you have a webinar, or if you have a challenge, like there's so much opportunity in building your email list, and tiny offers let me be able to do that while I was offline. While I was hanging out with my kids, my email list was growing by 10 to 100 people every single day from having these tiny offers running from zero, from absolutely nothing.
It's awesome. And it's a good breakdown. And also, it doesn't have to be all built at once, right? So the cool thing is you kind of just laid out a trajectory, but you could add on these different things and test different things, and it can evolve over time. For example, even we think about higher ticket opportunities, or, at Think Media, and we have a lot of demand for like me hosting a mastermind. There are a lot of demand for how could we, Sean, get together with you and a much smaller group of people. And so that's like kind of in our, to use like a SaaS term, roadmap, but my values, my time, my schedule, and the things we're focusing on right now, that's the only reason we're not doing it. If it was a different season without the 1-year-old and the 3-year-old and some, and then systematizing some things and getting some things in place at Think. But I want to encourage the listener, it's one step at a time, one thing at a time. However, I would try to get to a buy button as soon as possible. I constantly tell people this, and they're like, okay, maybe someday I'll do that. And you're just doing affiliate links. You're just, again, trying to get monetized. Get something that is a buy button for you. There are you could try to do merch, not my favorite. You could try to do, physical products. You could try to do these different things. But personal opinion, I love digital products, and the fact that we could get this done in a day. You can get it launched, then start tweaking it and improving it. At least now you're started, which creates some momentum, create a little cash flow, buy back your time, and then build out your business brick by brick. What do you think?
Yeah, I love that. And I think people too, you can sell things that don't exist yet. Like, I know that sounds crazy probably, but you could sell a workshop that you teach live, and people who are watching your channel, they are going to be so excited about the opportunity to learn from you in a Zoom room, to sit with you in Zoom. You could sell a workshop for $27 or $37 where you're sharing your screen and you're teaching something live, but then you can take that recording and you can chop it into different modules or different lessons. And then your tiny offer is done and it's created, and you can resell it in its new repackaged format. It's something that I had a really hard time sitting down and creating things. I mean, imagine that, right? Like being busy, I would serve everybody else first, and sometimes my projects get put on the back burner. So that was my hack to hold myself accountable to something I wanted to create. Was I would tell people it was happening. I would start selling it. I would create a page that says, $37, you can come learn Instagram Reels. We'll hang out for 90 minutes. And then I took the recording and chopped it and sold, thousands of them after that. But I think that's a quick way for people who maybe don't know what their audience wants either. You don't have to create it all. You can test different ideas. And if nobody buys the workshop, you're not out anything because you didn't create anything yet. And then you can get a lot of clarity on, if you don't know your audience, you don't know your messaging, you don't know their pain points super well yet, you can just play with different ideas without spending a lot of time creating them.
That was a major insight you just dropped there, that you could spend a little time to just set up and promote a workshop, and then host it if people register, chop it up, and now you've got a product. But if nobody registers, of course, there's that initial bummer, because discouraging.
We've all been there too.
I've been there, but it's not as discouraging as having recorded it all and built it all out, and then figured out, to your point, the messaging, the market message match didn't quite work. People weren't interested. A lot less is lost, and you try the next one. Maybe that one doesn't work, and then it starts to resonate. Great, and then you can double down and improve the thing that works. I did hear a stat about successful entrepreneurs, and it said that the average successful entrepreneur is at 2.6 businesses by the time they have success.
That plays.
And there's something about,
It's
so
true
that
for me.
means you
Yep.
tried two things, at least 1 to 2 or 3 things that failed before you found the one that worked. And it might not be in a quote unquote entire business, but if you haven't got your niche right, your angle right, your topic right, your product positioned right, it's so wise to do a little bit of testing without betting your entire farm or investing all your time up front. What a power tip. All right, well, let's land the plane. We can't really do an exhaustive list here, but what are some of your favorite ways that you're actively doing and maybe some of your students are doing once it's created to promote it using social, paid, anything that's kind of cool and that you like the most?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different ways. I've seen partnerships as a really great way to get started. Even if you have business friends or other people that you've been in contact with, if you do a joint class together and then at the end you're like, oh, by the way, I have this tiny offer or this small product that you can go buy, go check it out. And then you drop the link. It doesn't have to be a hard sale. It doesn't have to be weird. I know a lot of people are really uncomfortable when it comes to saying they have something to be purchased. So it's really a great way to start experimenting with that. Another really great way that I'm seeing right now for people who are doing reels, if you can use many chat bots and set up a bot where you do a reel and you say, comment guide and I'll send you the link. And then you can have a bunch of people that see your reel and then they say guide and then it drops them a link to the sales page. Or even if you are more comfortable doing a freebie, you could put the tiny offer on the confirmation page after they download the freebie or the opt-in if you have something like that set up inside of your business. Other ways, just putting the link everywhere. So I think all roads lead to the tiny offer. I put it in my email signature. It's in my social media profiles, in my bios. It's in show notes. So everywhere that I can think to drop a link to a tiny offer, I'm going to do that. And then once you've got some social proof or you've got just validation that people want what it is that you're selling, ads on Meta ads. So Facebook ads, Instagram ads have been the easiest, I shouldn't say easiest, but have been the most consistent way. There hasn't been a day since 2018 that I haven't made sales for my tiny offer. And a lot of that is because I've had ads running.
Man, such a great list. And it also speaks to the skill gap. This is a lot of stuff to learn. I know similar as we've developed a friendship, known each other for years now, and have had to work our way into this world. I know for me, it was maybe as early as 2013 or 14, I started to think about, ads, opt-in pages, email lists, content management systems. What website do I use? Thinkific or ClickFunnels or Kajabi? Is it about high level now? I'm hearing all this stuff. I just want to encourage you, pace yourself one step at a time. We overestimate even how much we can accomplish in a year, underestimate how much we can accomplish in 5 to 10, but also get coaching. This has been a masterclass. You've got, of course, your tiny offer launchpad, and that kind of stuff just helps you go faster. And I think about the best investment I've ever made when I'm trying to learn all these different skills is investing in myself and finding an expert so I can just go faster. I want to take a quick side quest because I'm excited for the podcast. And I know I'm curious, and we'll land the plane here in just a second, but I am curious, what are some of the books you've been reading lately or the audibles that are on your phone or the books on your shelf? I mean, it's relevant, but also purely separate because I know that you're a reader.
Yep.
And lifelong leaders are lifelong learners and truly readers are leaders. I'm actually on a mission because I know that some people say I just don't really read. And audiobooks are great. So great. I know we're busy. In fact, sometimes that's all you could do because we got to run errands and I'm pushing my double stroller Thule jogger. And that's where I'm, so I get the audiobook thing, but it is so underrated to have a physical book and to underline it and to circle. And there's something transformative about words on the page, pen to paper. And I know our Think Media community, some are kind of just getting into that. Of course, so many here absolutely love books. So in just a second, I'm just curious, the newest ones, maybe the best ones ever, and go anywhere, take it anywhere, because I've picked up books on the dopamine one or whatever about
I have that over there.
The molecule effect or something. So I'm curious in just a second, but I want to, we'll get to that bonus section of this episode. But I want to remind everybody, tinyofferlaunch.com. If you'd say, yeah, this sounds cool. And I would love to just take the shortcut and start creating my tiny offer faster and easier with Allie's resource. Besides that, people can also follow you on social. Give a quick roll call, and then we'll do our little book bonus section.
Yeah, I hang out the most on Instagram. So it's just at Allie Bjerk. My last name is Bjerk, silent J. So hang out over there, send me a message, let me know where you came from. I love to talk to people, total extrovert. I would chat on Instagram with people all day if I could. So that's the best place. So with the last name, there's YouTube, Facebook. I have all of it. So wherever you hang out, I'm there too.
Awesome. So of course, check out the show notes for all of Allie's stuff. Okay. A couple thoughts on just books that you've been loving lately, maybe that have stood out about anything and everything in our bonus book section.
Yeah, I'm reading The Mountain Is You right now, and I have to think. I'll have to send you the author's name because I can't think of what it is off the top of my head.
What's the takeaway? What's it about?
It's a lot about self-sabotage and some of the stories that we can tell ourselves as we're experiencing new things and where we can talk ourselves out of success. And I totally could relate to that because the last couple of years I was experimenting with lots of other concepts outside of tiny offers. And I was like, no, tiny offers are the thing. Like, that's my baby. And I totally came back home to only focusing on tiny offers. And that book helped me see some of the almost self-sabotage or like things being too good to be true that we can do as entrepreneurs when things start working and it's finally easy. We can kind of create problems and become an arsonist in our business. So that one was really good.
Wow. Okay. What's another one, new or old, that are maybe some of the best that you've liked?
Old, I am rereading A Course in Miracles. I don't know if you've ever seen, it's like this thick.
Wow.
It's a lot mindfulness and just helps you see the world a lot differently. It's it's a really good spiritual type book.
What about business marketing?
Business and marketing, I would say I read Russell Brunson's books all the time. Expert Secrets, I read and reread a lot because I feel like I pick up something different all the time when I read that book. And then also anything by, let's see. To look at my list. Benjamin Hardy, Dr. Benjamin Hardy. He has 10X is Easier Than 2X. Amazing book. And I got right back there too. That one, I have like 3 copies back there. And yeah, I think anything by Benjamin Hardy, I've read all, I think it was like 4 books that he's co-written with Dan Sullivan. Yeah. And I studied all of them this last year.
Yeah, I want to get Benjamin Hardy on the podcast. We've talked a little bit. And I actually haven't read 10X is Greater Than 2X yet, but Who Not How and that kind of mindset one, Life or something was good. And they're all good. He's such a great writer. And then Dan Sullivan, obviously, that power. The Russell Brunson ones are great. I've got one for you. And then, of course, friends, we will make a summary in the show notes. Did you hear about this one? The magnetic. Yeah. Did you buy it?
No, I thought I had it on my desk right here, but I have a different version of it. But that's like the thick.
It's $2,000. I bought a $2,000 book, Think Media Podcast.
Oh, nice. It looks, I thought it was like this one. It's another like Russell Brunson style, but that's the real deal.
Cost me $2,000.
Wow. Awesome. Look at all those notes in there. That's worth it.
Is it worth it? I'm going to make a video breaking it all down for those. You can see it's all tabbed up, but it's called Magnetic Story Selling. I actually do think for the sophisticated, far along business owner that realizes one idea, one insight, it's pretty cool. But definitely,
I'll take your notes.
and I'm such a book geek that's one reason why I was like, they created desire in my mind. I was like, just to even.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I collect. I don't collect cars. I don't collect cards. Right. I collect books. Yep. And so, but no, it's pretty good. So those are some great recommendations. I do want to encourage our listeners. Of course, we'll link up a list of those resources. Russell's entire trilogy is so great. But as much as I overorder books and more than I can read, I do want to remind our community that one of our favorite words is focus. Follow one course until successful. Focus. Kill distractions. And the biggest thing to ask is, what is actually going to move the needle for you next? Do you have a marketing problem, a traffic problem, traffic secrets? Are you trying to figure out your whole business, expert secrets? Are you thinking self-sabotage, trying to get your mindset right? Mountain is you. Where are you at on your journey? Are you a sophisticated business owner that would love to tap into better writing, better personal branding, magnetic story, and you have an extra $2,000 sitting around? Magnetic story selling, well, drop a link in the description. It's kind of hard to get, but ultimately, where are you and what do you need to do next? And that was kind of a personal side quest because we're all on a journey. But I think if you're solving for tiny offer, you're solving for an online course and getting that launched, then focus and maybe put down the books, pick up tiny offer, launch.com, and do whatever you need to do next. Allie, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Appreciate you and can't wait to connect in a future episode.
Thanks so much for having me, Sean.